It's been about a month since I released Insomnia, and I want to give a brief update on where the project's at. Right now I'm preparing to start recording a new album. The title is Rebirth. It's 5 tracks, all of which are around the 5 to 8 minute mark. Unlike Insomnia, these are independent tracks, not a linear story, but it's still focused on a singular concept, mostly an exploration of existential nihilism, but with a slightly different perspective this time. Musically, it's going to sound more like the demo, so it might seem like a return to roots, but there's actually an explanation for that, and I'll give a brief timeline of the project's history. This is my 3rd release in a very short period of time. I want to make it clear that I'm not some sort of songwriting machine that just crushes out album after album. The music has been in the works for a very long time, and what I've actually done was put songwriting on hold so I could catch up on recording all this material. So I began writing music around spring 2012. This predates me getting into black metal. I think I hated black metal at the time. It was a huge mistake on my part. But the songs I wrote were pretty simple. They were all clean, mostly Iron Maiden influenced heavy metal and hard rock. They weren't any good. But during this period I did write what would become the song Drifting and started developing the concept of Insomnia. The opening lyrics to Drifting, especially the unconventional rhyme scheme that I used, was something that I was really proud of, and ultimately the song has become the standard for my future works, at least from a lyrical standpoint. Now for some reason, I can't remember, I put songwriting on hold, but by the fall of that year, I discovered and became obsessed with black metal. Through the next year, I started writing riffs again, and as well as lyrics, and the material that I wrote ended up turning into the songs Apathy and Shadow. Obsidian Heart I can place in August of 2013. I wrote it during a trip. At this point, I had more or less developed my songwriting style. My approach to music is in 2 separate outputs. My main focus is to tell good stories, using lyrics that I hope can stand alone as poetry. I use a lot of literary devices, complex rhyme schemes, alliterations, assonance, metaphors, double meanings, all of these things to create strong images in the vein of my influences like Ronnie James Dio, Bruce Dickinson, and more modern songwriters like Isan. This is stuff that I'm going to cover when I start talking about lyrics, which is actually something that I'm really excited to get into. The other half of the project is to use my background as a guitarist to create black metal based music that supports these stories, and together this makes Apathy. In the fall of 2013, I took a class on basic music production. This is where I learned how to mix and write drums in order to produce songs for the class. I started recording these tracks that I had written down, and I actually have a SoundCloud profile with really raw versions of these songs. Shadow in particular has really bad lyrics, and I basically rewrote the final version during the recording stage because I didn't think it was up to par. I'll try and find a link to that. That'll be interesting to look back on. The material for the demo started coming together at this time, but I always had Insomnia on the back of my mind, and I was always putting together the story and refining it in my head. Over the winter, I devoted my time to writing Insomnia material only, and I think I finished about 80% of the album. Over the course of the next spring, I wrote Visions, Wanderer, Reflections, and Keeper to finish off the demo in roughly this order. The summer I spent recording, refining, and really learning how to do the production side of the things by trial and error. Each track was recorded and mixed independently, which is why the quality is so inconsistent. But the demo came together. It was finished last September. After that, I went straight into working on Insomnia again, but I also hit a brief moment of inspiration, and in October, I worked on refining the EP while writing a lot of new material that would become this next album. On top of that, another idea that I had basically developed into a bigger concept that's going to end up being the 4th album. Everything started to escalate out of control, so I had to stop myself from writing music, or I'd be in a perpetual state of catching up. I also started doing other things like releasing videos, so I've been busy splitting my attention, but time off has always been good for me. I feel like I become a better musician when I give myself a break so I can lose all the old habits. I stopped writing Rebirth, focused on Insomnia, and recorded and mixed over December and January. After Insomnia came out, I basically worked on the video series, and now I've started getting back into Rebirth, which was about 75% written. The only thing really missing were the bass parts. But now I'm pretty close to entering the recording stage, and this time I'm going to try and produce the whole album together, so hopefully we'll get the best sound so far. So in summary, the timeline goes Insomnia, demo, and then now this upcoming release, Rebirth, where half of Insomnia was written during the middle of the demo. This is going to sound somewhere in between both albums. My riff style is the same. You're going to see a ton of patterns and secondary riffs. All the stuff that I go over in these videos, it's still going to be present in my music. There's also a bit more room to expand since I'm always getting better at writing drums and bass parts. So if you like the old stuff, you'll probably continue to like the new stuff so far. My long-term schedule is to finish doing the songwriting videos. I have lead guitar, lyrics, and production planned for about 8 to 10 more videos. I'm projecting a release for Rebirth in March, so about a month of recording and production. And then after that, I'm going to finally get to the track-by-track review of every song that I've been talking about, where I just take apart each detail piece by piece, and that'll take a good amount of the year, I think. So there's a lot of work for 2015. In the end, I hope everything works out as planned.